Hi there, good morning. Welcome to this midweek market analysis. So as usual, what we're going to do is we're going to get started by looking at the dollar index first. Then we'll walk through some of the opportunities that you want to pay attention to moving forward from here. Now, dollar index last Friday NFP, we did see the dollar weakens. So moving forward, we're going to maintain a bearish bias. And if we can get a corrective pullback or corrective retracement within the next couple of days, then we are looking at a high probability move to the downside. Kind of a trend continuation after the recent potential reversal from last week, right? So this trade opportunity would probably come closer towards maybe the end of the week, maybe on Thursday or Friday, because we need to give it a little bit of time for it to do the corrective structure retracement, or it can be potentially a trade early next week. Okay, so we don't have an immediate sell trade setup at the moment for the dollar. Other than the dollar Canadian, if you managed to catch it last week, we'll talk a little bit about it in a while. But some of these majors like the euro, the pound, as well as the Aussie, basically we are looking at a potential setup establishing soon. You just need to give it a little bit more time. Okay, so like what you see over here in euro, we did get a decent bounce off the recent low at 1.0450. So we're basically waiting for a three-wave corrective retracement pullback coming towards a key area around the 15618. If you can get that, then obviously we're looking for one more push back up, and that will be our buy trade opportunity. Okay, very similar here, of course, is the pound side of things. So you can see a very nice little bounce. So if we can get a corrective pullback again, that will be a buy trade. Okay, so the major, like as I mentioned, euro, pound, and Aussie, they're basically more or less the same in terms of the structured development that we're expecting and we want to see before we commit to the buy trade. So same thing here, Aussie dollar, pretty strong little bounce. If you can get a corrective move back down, then that will be a decent buy trade to the outside. Okay, so this trade, give it a little bit of time, but at the same time you want to definitely pay more attention to it as time progresses, so that as it builds up into a trade setup, you definitely want to be looking at those opportunities. Okay, now dollar Canadian had a very nice little drop coming from not just the dollar weakness but also the Canadian strength because of what happened over the weekend. We have Israel getting bombed and things like that, so that actually opens up the possibility of another war. And oftentimes when that happens, then crude oil prices would shoot up. And market correlation wise, as oil prices goes up, Canadian dollar strengthen. So dollar Canadian has a pretty nice move since last Friday, right? Post NFP going into the weekend, we have that news, and then opening of this week, we did see the dollar Canadian continue to slide. Now this is a trade that I'm personally in. Okay, again, if you're familiar with some of these patterns and setups that we have covered from time to time, basically this is a trade that I got in by a simple breakout technique, right? We kind of have the crawl pattern up here, so kind of impulse move and then a crawl. So we know that there's a high probability the reversal is coming. You can see similar structure over here. So that's where we put in a breakout order to the downside, and last Friday the market actually broke through. So pretty neat, and of course we have to follow through. So right now we have actually shift our stops, show the profits and things like that. Now if you're not in this trade, obviously you do not want to just jump in. Okay, but what you can do is you wait for a, again, corrective pullback, you get another move to the downside. Okay, so overall, most of this dollar related instruments are telling us that the dollar weakness would likely continue if you get a corrective setup, other than the dollar yen. Okay, now the dollar yen is a little bit tricky in a way. It's not the clearest of all, but price pattern wise is suggesting that we may get a bit of an upside here. Now my personal take is I'm not too keen in looking at this trade, right, or even buying up the dollar yen right now. But I'll be more interested maybe going closer towards the end of the year, early next year, to look for opportunities to really sell off the dollar yen, right? So I'm more interested in that in a bigger picture perspective. But from the short to near term, I think dollar yen chart wise, pattern wise, seems to suggest that there's a little bit more upside. right? So if you're more of that kind of like short-term trader, of course you can consider looking for a buy trade here with a target around 150.20, 150.60. Okay. Then we have gold. Okay, gold again did a massive shoot up. Again because of dollar weakness as well as the war-related news. Okay, we are, when there's a war, we're gonna transit into a risk-off environment, and of course, safe haven like gold would likely shoot up. Okay, so we get a very nice little impulsive push. Again, if you are familiar with this pattern, last week you have a simple breakout trade post NFP going into the weekend. Great trade. Okay, so if you're not in that trade, then simply wait for the pullback correctively. Okay, around that zone will give you another opportunity to get involved in the buy, right? So long term wise, so from the shorter term picture perspective to the mid term to the long term, I personally think that gold has a upside opportunity, and you definitely want to just focus on buy opportunity, right? Buy trade setups. Okay, so that's definitely a strong one. Building from near term all the way to the longer term, I think the direction is aligned. Okay, we want to definitely look out for it. Crude oil, short term, I think there's a little bit more upside, maybe one more push. So if you can get a corrective pullback here, you can trade you 1, 2, 3. We do have the news coming in as well, which supports strength on crude oil. Okay, so overall, that's a setup to look out for. Equities market, we get a pretty decent bounce after it tags the 4222 area. Okay, completing the white color 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we get a first bounce. So if we can get a corrective structure here, obviously we'll be looking for more upside. Now from a fundamental and macro perspective, going into next year, I think equities market are likely gonna continue to be bullish. So if you can get any buy trade set up, you want to look at it from a perspective of not just from a trade, but building into a position of maybe a longer term investment idea as well. Okay, so that's on the S&P side of things. Some of this pair here in terms of the yen and things like that would skip through. I don't think there's much to pay attention on. Bitcoin on crypto market, if you are interested in it, I think BTC here are building up an opportunity perhaps closer towards the end of the week or early next week. Now we're seeing a pullback, right? We're seeing a pullback here. Price is coming very, very close to the 15618 area. Now what you want to do is you can go down to the hourly time frame and spot for what we know as a crawl pattern. Okay, so something like that, right? So if you can get something like that, let me just very quickly map it out for you. Okay, if you can get a pattern like that developing here, then that will be very ideal, right? Because that's a crawl. Oftentimes that will give you the divergence, and all you need to do is just look for a breakout trade entry, right? So if I'm gonna put that here, that will be something like that, right? Your break is stop below, and then of course your target is at the top. Okay, it's a very, very simple entry technique. Okay, you just need to combine it with proper pattern, proper key areas, give it a little bit of time element, then it constitutes into a high probability trade setup. Okay, so BTC here, if you're into crypto, right, you would like to have some exposure of investment, even in the sense of an investment in your portfolio, then I think BTC here is building into something. Okay, so yeah, that's generally what I have for the week. Keeping it really concise, straight to the point. All the best to trading. Okay, and I'll see you guys in the next one.